If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. In addition to that, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other platforms. Why not check it out today? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Good day. Happy Saturday. Thank you for joining another episode with Miss Alexis. Let's win together. So today I have a question. What now? I know my purpose. So a lot of 2020 allowed us all to really have some, solitude time. Like we were by ourselves. We were dealing with problems within the home. We were really getting to take a look at the man in the mirror, as you all know who sung that. So, if you don't, Michael Jackson, but yeah, I realized that, okay, I've identified my purpose. So now what? What do I do? I mean, I know I can't do the things that I used to do. I know I can't just do what I want to do and where I want to be and all of that. So, what do I do? So that brings us to that place, of course, transition. And ding, 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 ding. Once again, that word change. So, today's episode is going to be about 5 steps to walking into change. You figured out who you are, what you want to do, and now you're excited, but you're irritated. Like, I don't know if anybody else has been in that place, but let me tell you, I have been there in some areas, and I'm still there in other areas. But as I continue to follow these 5 principles, I can't really say principles, but these 5 things have helped me be able to either get over something, heal from something, and be able to leap forward, and get things done. So I just felt that I would share a few of these techniques. A lot of them are an add up of different mentors that I consider amazing people. And I feel that it would be selfish not to share my interpretation of it. So let's get into it before I keep rambling. All right. Number 1, detox. Ding, 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 ding. I don't know what's up with me and the ding, 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 ding today, but I'm feeling it. And that's just how I feel. And those that know me on a personal note, y'all know this is me. Like, I talk with sounds. I talk with moving my hands. I am very dramatic when I talk. Why? Because I'm feeling it. Like, literature is everything to me. I always felt weird as a kid because so many people would be excited about reading different books, like, and there's nothing wrong with it because I feel that those people have amazing imaginations and they're very creative and a lot of other positive traits that come with, reading fiction. But I never was a fiction person. I always loved to read nonfiction books. I wanted to forever learn. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I see something, how does that work? Where does it come from? I wanted to get to the root of things. So that brings me back in to talk about detox. That is one of the first principles I feel people should definitely start to walk into their change. Why? Because it sets you up to be in the proper perspective. How can you become something that you desire to become? Yeah, it's within you. But if you've got all this other stuff blocking that very thing, you got to clean that up first. I mean, and that's a principle with like a lot of stuff. If you know that you're going to have people over, or if you're going to, what's a good example of, I'll speak on myself. Like, I've been working on getting rid of things because I identified that I have too much stuff, and too much stuff is keeping my mind all over the place. So I knew I was having a lot of people over for Lydia's birthday. Lydia's my little one. She is, 5, and I was having a birthday party for her because no places for kids is like the place to go. Chuck E. Cheese around us is closed. So I say all that to say, I had to clean my house out. Like, I had so much stuff. Like, I had 2 sofas in the living room. Who does that? All because I'm holding on to what? Why? For what? Get rid of it. Ain't nobody coming over your house. Ain't nobody fooling with you because you got too much going on inside the home. And I just say that to say, detox. You got to get rid of stuff before you can get some stuff, because that's why God always teaches us to be content and to learn to, give things away, learn to not hold on to so much stuff. And that's not just in the natural, it's spiritual. So, spiritual is, inner, is mental. Of course, there's a lot of realms to it, I should say. But you got to get rid of stuff. And that stuff for me has always been people, has always been food, and has always been some type of addiction. An addiction does not always go into the category of something that enters your body. Addiction can be anything. That can be TV, that can be social media, that can be like just being lazy, procrastination. I feel that procrastination is like a poor addiction because you get used to doing nothing. So if you get used to doing nothing and you're repeating it over and over again, you want to stop and it's a challenge. That's addiction to me. But anyway, say the least, detoxing people is important because birds of a feather flock together. If you know you're not happy and the circle that you're in is not happy, then common denominator, you got to make some changes, or y'all either gonna grow together or you're gonna grow apart. And that's okay, because nothing is wrong with letting go of people. It doesn't mean that that relationship has to be broken or that you don't like each other, but sometimes that separation is necessary, because isolation, which we have all experienced in some form or fashion over the last year. It's like everybody's excited about, oh my goodness, we got out of 2020, we're in 2021. But what are you really doing different than what you did last year? You got out of that thing, that year is over, but you're still doing the same things, trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how do I deal with where I am? Busting out to vacations. I'm guilty. But there's things that we have to do to get rid of the old us to walk into the real us, and which is the new us, And I shared that as number 1. I said I was not going to be long because I actually have some stuff to get done, and I got to stay on it. But when this thing got me, it really got me. Number 2, very simple, but very hard, because we as a people, as persons, we are selfish, where we don't feel that we should do this very thing, and that's pray. Bring it to our Father. Talk to Him. Bring Him in. He already knows what's going on. He's right there. But just like a relationship with your folks, they right there. They know what's going on, and you have to sometimes just talk to them. But it's different with people, because people are still made out of the heart, and that That's a whole nother thing. But I just share that as an example, as him being our father, we should be able to go to him daily, and that should be natural. It shouldn't be going to him daily because you want something. No, you're going to him because you need him. This is natural. This thing, you got to fake that relationship until it feels real. And once it feels real, you will find yourself just sitting there like, okay, Father. And, that's when that very thought, hearing his voice, starts to come to you. And that's a whole nother show in itself, how to hear God's voice. Yes, there's a lot of people talking about it, but I feel that it took me a while. I got to be transparent because I was so used to hearing so many people say God said, and the thing that they said God said did not happen in their life. So I was confused. I'm like, okay, but I trust the Spirit of God in them. But again, that's a whole nother episode. So I say all that to say pray daily, because you have to be careful for nothing, and you don't want your flesh to interfere with the change because of what you're familiar with. That familiar thing starts to feel too good, and you're in your season of change, which is why detoxing, of course, I got to go back to that 1 second, is necessary, because if you put something in your body or you do something that you ain't supposed to be doing after you detoxed, it feels funny. It operates weird. It does not serve its purpose. So I just share that to say, 1, detox. 2, pray daily. Number 3, of course, stop and examine. Drop everything. See where you are when you start to feel yourself going back into that place that you don't belong. Literally, you have to say, oh man, is this taking me to my purpose, or is this taking me back and being used on purpose? There's definitely a difference. So you have to stop and examine where you are, which, goes into the rebooting process. Just turn that thing off and move into who you're supposed to be. And I have to do that all the time. Like, because I'll start bugging out. No, I'm not supposed to be doing something. Do it anyway. And then I'm looking at myself in the mirror like, really, Lex? For real? But it's okay, because that's a step. They go together. And self-examination is always necessary. And these things don't necessarily have to go in order, but they kind of all go together. But I have to list it so that, there's understanding to the numbers. But on to number 4, stay fueled up. Okay? Fueled up to me means reading your word, because that's your gas. That's where, that's what's keeping you going. Because so many different philosophers and different religions and different things, they try to criticize the word, or not necessarily always criticize, but it's always conflict of interest when you quote a proverb or a psalm, yet it's nothing but words kind of rearranged using biblical principle. So for me, I use the word. I mean, I prefer different translations over others, but that's not what I'm here to discuss. I'm here to talk about today, staying fueled up. Read it. I mean, even if you have a hard time figuring out where to start, what to do, everything in the word has a purpose. It's like the Old Testament serves its purpose by more example. The New Testament, gives you life with Christ. Like, it's just a whole different experience in both, new and old, but it's necessary. And even different stories in the Bible, for me, always changes in each circumstance. It's like so many different things that have happened to, I feel, like my ancestors, always ministers to me in some type of different way. So I try to read different stories just to be like, okay, what can I learn from that, so that I don't either walk through it, or that I do walk through it to reap that type of, reward for being obedient. So I just share that to say, stay fueled up, continue to read your word. And then after reading your word, read things that you're interested in. Start getting in your purpose. If you don't have the money to do your purpose because it's schooling or it's something that you have to do, just start. I mean, there's a book you can read on it. I mean, before you can get to your classes, so then your passion for it continues to increase. You start to, move into which way you're supposed to go. So stay fueled up. Continue to read. Like, read. Number 5, I mean, and then if reading is not good for you, there's audiobooks now. There's videos, but keep that fuel going because you have to fuel your brain. And when you fuel your brain, it's amazing. Don't let nobody stop you from that. But by the time you start fueling your brain, you've already detoxed, so you ain't got time for none of that anyway. Um so number 5, one of the most hardest things to do, because when you're excited about something and you're changing, sometimes you start putting that part of your life and every other thing in your life together. As in, you not doing anything. Yeah, you're excited. You wrote a plan down. You started, thinking about it. But that's all it's been, is a thought. And you got to have action behind that thing. So start doing it. And once you start doing it, it doesn't matter if you're doing it right or wrong, because at this point, your faith is ridiculous. You're looking at like, all right, God, it's me and you. Of course you love everybody else, but right now I'm trusting that you're going to do this for me. I speak on that, when I talk about watching how my miracle child was 1 pound and she left that hospital with nothing. She left in her car seat like she was born out of my belly at 5 pounds. Okay. So that type of faith, every day when they would tell me different things like, oh, she's going to be blind. You're definitely going to have to get this done. You're going to have to do that. And I'm preparing myself each step. I'm like, all right, Lord, if that's what we're going to do, that's what we're going to do. She was pronounced with cerebral palsy, and I was preparing myself for a whole lot of stuff. But I still had faith that regardless, she was going to live. I wasn't worried about, each how she was going to survive. Of course, I wanted the best for her. And I'm just like, Lord, if you see fit for her to get through this, and you know that we can do this together, I trust you, Lord, but let her live. There was many a times I held my child and she stopped breathing. Okay? But this story is not here to, talk about that situation. It was to be used as an example of how God allowed me to experience that, because he knew that I was going to have faith in him regardless. Okay? So I say, you start doing, and part of doing is having that faith to believe that I'm getting it done. Then, as I have an appointment in 5 minutes, so I'm gonna have to cut this off. But I just had to get this out. So you have to start doing, and then as you start doing, you keep going. You don't stop. There's no stopping point. Once you've experienced you walking in your purpose, there is no stopping point. You're like, all right, young, I might have fell off for a month or two, but this got to get done. So I don't know who this was for today, but I hope that it encouraged you, because it encouraged me once I put it in a category of 5. And I'm like, boom. So ask yourself that question again, and now answer it with these 5 steps, or create your own 5 steps. But get to a place of where you're identifying where you are, so you can start moving to where you want to go. All right. So, what now? I know my purpose. Talk to you next time. Good day.